Great, thank you. Welcome to our February 12th Policy Committee meeting. And thank you all for being here. Member Lofold of our board members on this committee is excused. And thank you, Member Stephanie, for being here. Okay, so policies for first reading. We have policy 542, intra-district transfers. And with this policy, we're both renumbering it and updating it to 50/40 transfers within the school district. And the purpose of this policy is to establish the process and criteria for students to request attendance at a school or program within the district other than their assigned attendance boundary school. I think I'm going to read the definition too. An intra-district transfer is defined as when a Duluth Public Schools student who is enrolled at their attendance summer boundary school requests to attend a different school or program within the district other than the one assigned by address. And then it goes into the general purpose of the policy. The last time this was revised was in 12/16/2014. I remember that revisions. The name has been changed from transfers within the school district to intra-district transfers. So are you going to do some presentation on it? Okay.
Yeah, so, yep, I'm
Please
Brenda.
introduce yourself.
Thank you. I am Brenda Sparts. I'm the Director of Elementary Schools, and I have...
I'm Jen Larva. I'm the Director of Secondary Schools.
So since I've been here, we've had this transfer policy, and every year issues come up with the process of intra-district transfers. And so we have met on this. We kind of messed around with thinking about changing it. So this year we were like, okay, let's just update it to reflect actual current practice, like we added the enrollment center in here. So that's where it gets submitted. And the language of MDE and all the things. And then some of the barriers and hurdles that we're running up against. So I pulled together a team. We met December 4th. What we looked at is we reviewed MDE language. I went and I did a deep dive into what do other districts do. So I really looked at a lot of different policies and procedures and website, all that stuff. I looked at our current policy, our current form, our process, and then some data. So that's what we did with that team. It was great, really, I think a really good meeting. One thing is MDE defines open enrollment, which is kids enrolling into our district from another district with a lot of criteria, and you have to do this, and it's on their website. Intra-district transfers are controlled at the local level. So local level is to put processes in place for their own decision-making. So that's what we have here. We met again on January 22nd. I took everything and updated it according to what we discussed and everything at that first meeting. So then we reviewed all the documents on January 22nd. We also took it to our Principal Plus meeting where we meet with all the principals and other district leaders. And we put the form, the policy, and the regulation in front of them so that they could look at all the different aspects. They gave us great input, feedback. And so that's what you see here is a culmination of all that process. So do you want me to just jump into the policy, like what we're seeing here?
I actually have a question of just what you've said so far. And I just, who was on that team on December 4th and January 22nd? Who was that initial team that looked at this?
We invited the two of us, Simone, we had Danielle Dorn, We had
Daniel Dorn.
Daniel Dorn
Okay, okay, okay.
and Philip,
And again, for the public, yeah,
what? Yeah, Philip Olson.
with the,
Paulson, sorry. I was going to say something else, and I knew that was right. So sorry, everyone. Yeah, and he's the Mars coordinator. Then we had Kelly Flohog, principal of East. We had Brian Kazmierczak, principal of Lincoln Park. This policy impacts our elementaries probably more than it does our secondaries, and also impacts our higher needs schools probably more than it does some other schools. We had Dr. Katie Britton from principal at Piedmont, Lisa Nicholson, principal at Myers-Wilkins. I'm trying to think of who else was there. Oh, Carrie Thompson, principal at Laura Mack, Anthony Bonds, assistant superintendent. I can't think of, I'd have to look at the invite to see if that's all of them. But that's basically who was on the
okay,
committee.
thank you.
And then, like I said, when we took it to the principal meeting, there's a lot of, there's district leaders there, there's a lot of different people there. So when you look at the policy here, first of all, we named it 542, so it fits within our scope and sequence of policies. And you'll see that I updated all the language in here to say intra-district transfer. That aligns to MDE's definition and understanding of it, so, and all the other school districts. So you'll see that reflected in here. At the approval of intra-district transfer request, you'll see that in the criteria, we updated some of the language and then added student attendance rates in there. That is a big deal thing, because what we do is students that are in a school who might not, if they're in their boundary school, they have busing. So they always have an ability to get to school. If they do an intra-district transfer, they have no transportation and the parents have to do it. Well, some situations, actually more than a few, we get families who are requesting intra-district transfer who the students already are quite truant. So even though they have busing, they're not getting to school. And then we are approving intra-district transfers where they're going across town and they just fall off. They might not even come to school. And so it has caused a lot of barriers for us to be not looking at data to make those decisions. And so that's actually a really important piece of this, is making sure that we're making informed decisions on behalf of kids. So that's one piece there. You will see that in that same paragraph, the last sentence, transfers not approved by the assistant superintendent may be appealed to the transfer appeal board. We do have a policy 103, that it's titled Complaints, Students, Employees, Parents, and Other Persons. What we want to do is we want to streamline, regardless if it's an intra-district transfer appeal. I get families calling me and they're like, I don't like this decision. Where can I take that and appeal this decision my principal made or something? And I'm like, well, you can fill out the complaint form. So we're wanting to look at this next and include the appeal process within the complaints and appeals, but make it broader. And because I do get a lot of parents who don't know where to go, and they don't like a decision, and it's not a complaint, but it's more of an appeal. So we want to broaden this to include all those types of things. So that's actually what we talked about. So,
I ask a question now,
Yeah.
or do I need to?
Do you want to have her kind of explain it all? And then I have questions too right now too, but
Okay.
I just think she might give us some information we don't
Yeah.
know for our questions. And I know I'm burning with a couple questions too.
Yeah.
But I
I'll
think
just
it'll be
walk
helpful.
through,
Yeah,
and then
thank
we'll
you.
see what we, if I answer your questions. And then you'll go down to the transfer of a student from one school attendance to another. You'll see that's redlined by a school team. They called out a certain school team, but actually we have multiple school teams, and Also, they're called different things at different levels, so we just put that a little broader. Down in continuation of approved education inter-district transfer, like I said, we changed it. They're not going to be submitting this directly to the Assistant Superintendent's office. It's going to go through the Enrollment Center, who will then disseminate the forms. And so we just changed that. Down on the bottom, the timelines, our timelines were not working out for particularly the registration in the secondary. So we changed from April 30th to February 1st, so that when we go through the registration and setting the staffing and all the classes, all those kids who want to do that are considered in that process. April 30th is just too late, so we changed that. And then December 1st, same thing. For second semester, we needed to have a deadline so that we could plan for them to join a school a second semester in the classes and everything. And then, oh, Patty, I forgot to put this in red down here. And then that very last sentence on the first page, the only exception to the deadlines is March 15th for new kinders, incoming kinders, because we want them to be able to attend meet and greets and make decisions and choices for their families and be able to say, you know, I might want to go to this school and be able to submit the document. And we felt that was reasonable. So we just added an exception for kindergarten registration. That's all for this. Do you want me to just go through the regulation?
No, I think we
Okay.
should ask questions on
Sure.
this. And I have some, but go ahead. No, I defer to you, Member Williams, so go ahead.
I want to, excuse me, go back to the point you were making about the transfers not approved. That was struck out. I realize I might be asking you to repeat yourself, and I'm sorry. So you stated policy 103. So are we going to have anything included within this policy so people don't have to go back and search? Are we adding this or?
To reference this policy,
Yeah.
we could, you know what, as I was getting ready for this and I printed this and I was kind of, you know, re-acclimating myself, I thought about that.
Because I am thinking about parents who don't want to sit down and read through, 1,000 policies to find the one sentence for the specific.
Yeah, no,
thing
I
they
did.
questioned.
That's a good question, and I did think about that. So like to direct them where they can go.
Correct, yeah.
And actually, I forgot to mention that, of course, this is going to go through this process, but this wouldn't take effect, of course, until next school year. So we would follow anything for the remainder of this school year would follow under our current policy.
Thank you, that was my only
Yep,
question.
thank you for that.
So this is a follow-up, and you and I were on the same wavelength on this question, but I actually probably am feeling a little bit more stronger about it. I understand your thinking of putting it, I just pulled up policy 103, and yeah, I would hope we would change the name, but we did, policy 103, we did just update August of 2023. I have some concerns about, similar to Member Williams, about parents not finding it, but I also believe that just like I think, does our transportation policy have a definition of how parents can appeal? Can you? I think it does, and I think transportation and transfers are two big ones for parents, and they're different than a complaint. I think it's really important parents know how they can appeal this. And I think sometimes, and when I look at the forms, and this is what I've heard over the years, I've never did a transfer myself, but that sometimes the information on that form isn't really enough to make the committee who's making that decision. And so parents just being aware that they do have some appeal process, and it doesn't just get lost in another policy. I'm really concerned about that. And we're going to talk about the form. I noted that it was struck out of that as well. And I did not check with other school districts, but I will, being this is the first reading, to see if they have kept that. But I really feel for a parent or guardian, I would like to keep that in there. So, yeah.
That's one thing I did check when I did a survey of other district stuff, and about half of them had some kind of appeal, half of them didn't. So that was it was
Okay.
about a 50-50 take.
So then that also tells me that it's pretty important in other districts as well, that they have kept an appeal process clear with the policy that, because if I were a parent, I'd go to this policy, and maybe there'd be a line that says, oh, and if you don't like the decision, you can go here. I know we'd say it nicer than that, but that, we have thousands, would you be in agreement, Member Williams?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I would like us to reconsider, maybe rewording it if you want, but I would like us to reconsider.
And are you suggesting not, because I did like your suggestion, and I thought about that, so putting a reference in here where parents could find information about this appeal plus any other type of appeal that they want to do. So are you suggesting that it wouldn't be a part of an amended 103 policy?
Well, I guess I'm asking two questions. So are we still going to have a transfer appeal board,
Well, we
which a
wouldn't.
board member in the past used to serve on?
We wouldn't in this policy. It would be in this one. And I think like I said, there are other appeals that parents want to do and make. And I don't know, sometimes we don't have a place to send them because it's not a complaint. They're not lodging a complaint. They don't like a decision and they want someone else to help in that process. And we don't have anywhere for them to really go. So I don't know if that's.
I guess, and maybe I'm not understanding this clearly, but I guess I'm saying two things. One is that I would like it to be really clear that there is a transfer appeal board, if there is, and I would hope there still is a transfer appeal board. And I know in the past, and I think it's listed somewhere, again, a board member has served on there, as well as, let's see, where did it list who served on it? I had seen someplace where it was listed, here, it was,
I think it's a 3-member board, if I remember right. Board member.
let's see, it says, if we go to 542R, which I know we're going to discuss in a minute, the transfer, see here it lays out who's on the transfer appeal board. What we have currently is Assistant Superintendent will convene the transfer appeal board upon the request of the applicant for applications submitted by the due date stated in the timeline. Requests submitted after the due date will not be considered until the following semester. The transfer appeal board will be made up of one school board member, a district administrator other than the assistant superintendent, 2 community members, keeping in mind the need to maintain a balance of representation across the district. Unique circumstances may require exceptions to these timelines. That's really specific.
Yeah.
I just think that committee is coming together with that really specific idea of looking at the concerns, if there needs to be additional people looking at the concerns of a transfer. And I don't know, I feel really strongly about this.
I agree. I actually requested to be on the transfer appeal board this year. I did not get assigned to it, but yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be stated clearly for parents what to do if they, if they have concerns and want to discuss it and things didn't go their way. And I agree with you that this is different than a complaint, but it's still something that's really important to families, and they need to know what the right avenue is to discuss it or appeal.
And we were very well aware that this might be a sticking point, and we thought we specifically talked about amending this policy to reflect any appeal, including this one, because we actually need a place where people can go to appeal, not just this, but other things. But I do hear you, and we can definitely leave it in, but that's what we talked about. We knew it would be a sticking point. So.
Yeah, and again, not to go on about this, but I think both, we've had a transfer appeal committee, we've had a transportation, and that's been there for a while, and I think there's good reason why those two committees are different than all of the things that might be covered in Policy 103 that you would like to bring back to us and throw it in, but yeah.
Do you want me to go over the regulation?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
You're going to see some of the same stuff because the regulation's going to align with the policy. So I changed all the wording to intra-district transfer in here. It added enrollment center. We added a whole section in here, you'll see in part 1, because even if I'm in the boundary attendance area of Lowell Elementary, let's just say as an example, I still have to fill out an inter-district transfer to go to the Spanish immersion program. So we wanted it clearer so parents understand that even if you're in Lowell, that doesn't mean you just automatically get to go to Spanish immersion. You have to transfer to the program. And so we added that in here to be more explicit. And then, of course, the criteria we aligned to the policy. And then the class sizes in here, we struck that out. This is 2014 it was done, but we don't actually use this guidance, so we wanted it to reflect what we have in place right now. And so class sizes is in the criteria and the building capacity, class size up top. And so we have it in there already as a criteria piece, but spelling it out like that is, we just didn't think that was appropriate for the regulation. So we wanted that taken out. Number 3 down there, you'll see that's new. That goes along with that piece of attendance. And Minnesota continuing, what am I going to say here? The 90% or more attendance rate is the benchmark for Minnesota on good attendance. And so we want them to be able to have a 90% or more attendance in their boundary school before they would transfer to a different school without any transportation. And then in that, we included excused, unexcused, and partial day absences that count towards that calculation. And then to consider revoking, a school must provide documented evidence of following established notification. So once a child, we'd say, okay, they do have 90% or more grade attendance, and we're going to approve this transfer, and they transfer to a different school across town, and then they don't show up. They fall, their attendance falls. Then what's the process to then say, you know what, we really need you to go back to your boundary school because there you can get transportation. You can get on the bus, you can get to school. But in that consideration, the school must provide evidence that they're following the truancy notification processes, which we already have. And then also that last little piece there, upon revoking an approved intra-district transfer, the school must provide in writing at least 5 business days for a transition for the family. We need to give it to transportation, we need the family to be well informed, and so we wanted to put a time in there where we could do a transition for that child and that family. And then with a stated start date, we thought that was important because it just needs to be clear when the child would start back into their attendance boundary school. Again, that last piece there, that's all struck out. We just talked about that, so we can talk about that more, or what that looks like, or just keep that in there. If you turn it over to the second page there, part 4, all that first sentence there is in the enrollment process now, so it's like irrelevant. And then when a student who has been approved for an inter-district transfer moves to another attendance area. So let's say a Laura Mack student has been approved to go to Piedmont, and they're attending Piedmont. But then they move to Lester Park attendance area. They're still going to be approved to go to Piedmont. There's capacity there. The enrollment's okay. The kids attending school with the parent transferring them, or, transportation. So there's no problem with them still attending Piedmont. We just want parents to know that if they move within the district, they can still go to that approved transfer school. So that's what that piece is about. We wanted to be clearer on that. And then they can also go to that school until the end of 5th grade and the end of 8th grade. But at the end of 5th grade, you have to do a new transfer request for the middle school. And at the end of 8th grade, you have to do a new transfer request for high school if you're going to choose the different boundary school. So we just wanted that to be clear there. And then, of course, that last piece is about eligibility for co-curricular activities. High school stuff. So that's the regulation.
What about the last paragraph is there anything that, the paragraph that says the term homeless children and youth?
That's just a definition with no changes.
Okay, so
It's referenced in here, so I think that's why they added that definition of what that means.
It seems like it doesn't fit right there, and so I just wonder if, or if it should say definition, because it can be confusing with, what does that have to do with co-curricular activities? Yeah.
Oh, no, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so more of a clarification. I appreciate, again, all of the work that has been put in both of these policies to really reflect what we're currently doing, as well as clarifying more. I do have a question now that we're in the regulation, though, a couple questions. One is where it says 2 intra-district transfer guidelines and consideration. You struck out middle, after the listing of class size guidelines, the paragraph that
school.
says middle and high school, teacher-student ratios, class size, and classroom space will also be considered when making transfer decisions for middle and high school students.
It's just repetitive. It repeats what's already up top.
Okay, so that is meant to reference building capacity and building populations?
Yeah, it was repetitive, so I thought it was a little confusing because the criteria is already stated up top.
I just wanted to make sure that's what the intent of building capacity and building populations were.
Yep.
Okay. I'm kind of trying to understand in my head, though. I certainly understand the classroom sizes, but I also, I think of the difference in classroom sizes, particularly on the east end of town. And so, is it clear enough, I guess?
I think it depends on the school, the demographics of the school, resource. There's a lot of considerations there that go into it. So I think that it is in the consideration of all the different elements that can go into that topic.
Okay. And then my other question had to do with, on the second page, number 4, moving to a new attendance area. And that first paragraph, you said, is referenced in the enrollment center.
The enrollment process.
Okay, just because I think that first, in my mind, that first paragraph's an important one parents understand. And could we put, under that section, moving to a new attendance area, it's referenced in the enrollment center process or something?
Oh, yeah,
Just
sure.
because
I wrote that down
I've
on my
had to
paper.
share that information with people. So, so I think if we could reference that. Member Williams, did you have any other questions about the regulation?
Yes, excuse me. I did have a question about, I wrote it down here. That last sentence, it's not even a question, it's just about the wording. If there is a way we can word it differently, because the sentence just feels clunky to me. Upon revoking an approved intra-district transfer, the school must give in writing the school must give written notice. I can't think of, I had it and now it's gone, but the way that it's worded, I feel like I'm not saying this correctly. Forgive me, I'm medicated.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it's kind of, it's chopped up in a clunky
Yeah.
way.
I like give notice in writing.
Yeah.
Is that- Yeah.
And then the English degree in me says you have to spell out the word 5. You can ignore that if you want to, but.
So my only
Not
other
wrong.
question then, thank you for that, that's good, it would be then with the transfer appeal board section. Are you looking for recommendations from us? Because that's the only place that it really lays out clearly. It doesn't in the policy, which I understand, who should be on that transfer appeal board.
Yes, I'm trying to read it real quick just to, it says in the regulation who's on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said, it's in the regulation
two
and what we're
committee, yeah.
discussing right now, it's really clear. In the policy, it's not clear, which I understand why it would be in the regulation and not the policy. But
Is there anything that you want to change or add to that piece of the regulation?
well, I guess I would, as it says right now, the Transfer Appeal Board will be made up of one school board member, just like we are on the Transportation Appeal Board, a district administrator other than the assistant superintendent, and 2 community members, keeping in mind the need to maintain a balance of representation across the district. Unique circumstances may require exceptions to these timelines. It doesn't say to the makeup of the committee.
Is that what you would want in here? Or,
Do we have community members on our transportation appeal? Or is it just a school board member and the other, yeah? I'd have to do a little research myself on why they put community members in there in the past, but I think I know, and maybe what other districts that have kept this, what their makeup is, but I definitely think a school board member, a district administrator, other than the assistant superintendent, based on the policy, makes sense.
okay.
And
Do you want this appeal committee to more closely reflect? I don't know what the transportation one is, but we could, if you want them to be more reflective of each other. we could-
not necessarily,
Okay.
not necessarily, because I think it's different. It's a, yeah, I think it's a different, yeah.
So the,
I'll do some homework myself
Okay,
and send
okay.
to you, but for me personally, and I can't speak for Member Williams, I would at the minimum want on the transfer appeal committee, a school board member and a district administrator other than the assistant superintendent, because would be other than the person who's making the decision.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, and I'll dig too, because I know I did dig around just to see if an appeal process was in there. I didn't read them all. So that
and
might be interesting.
I particularly, when I look at what other districts, I look at districts that are like our size, that have more than one high school, more than one middle school, so I look at Bloomington, St. Cloud, Rochester, some of those bigger school districts, which are more like us.
I put in my agenda, we had Bloomington, Inver Grove Heights, Hopkins, Wayzata, ISD 196, and then Lakeville.
And I would say Wayzata and Hopkins are kind of more condensed of a school than we are, but, they're probably the same size, closer to the size. But yeah, I think there's, 10 or 12 school districts that are more like us, so.
Okay.
But I'll do my homework, you can do your homework, but
Yeah, thank you.
that's what I would actually recommend with the transfer. How about you?
Okay.
I agree with that. I think it's important to consider as well, I feel like I bring this up a lot, but also districts that have a similar racial demographic breakdown, that is a factor that goes into why people want to transfer schools a lot. And so I think we should look at what similar districts are facing similar issues in that way.
You want me to go over the form now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you'll notice that the form was, well, although it has the same flavor, it's completely revamped. And for some reasons you already stated. So if we just start from the top of the new form, we added in that first bullet point of an approval or denial should be expected within 15 calendar days. We wanted the families to be able to expect that within a certain amount of time they would hear for planning purposes. And so we thought that was important to add in here. That was not in the last version.
Excuse me, one thing. Is the second form that we have the current version, and then this is the new version, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
The one that says 542F is the new one.
On the bottom.
The one that says 5040 is the current.
Let's see, and then we put the new timelines in there to reflect February 1st, March 15th for kindergarten, that exception, and then December 1st for second semester. As you work your way down here, student's name, assigned school versus requested school, so filling that in. We added in a priority reason. So what's the reason? And we gave a lot of different examples in here of like, why do you want to transfer? Siblings, new to district enrollment, student is the child of a staff member. Due to key zone capacity, sometimes we have that, Lowell's often full, they need after, so there's that. Childcare might be in a different school's attendance area, parent workplace location, of course, Spanish immersion in Ojibwe, and then other. There's umpteen different reasons why a parent might be requesting this. So adding in that other so they can add that in there. Of course, we kept the Minnesota State High School League language on here. And then that bottom part, read before signing, we want to make sure that parents know that transportation isn't a part of this package. They must transport their child. We want to make sure that they know that the Minnesota State High School League rules might have an impact on their child's ability to participate. I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but the high school principals told me that. An approved intra-district transfer expires at the end of 5th grade, expires at the end of 8th grade. So we want to just make sure that they know that they have to reapply. And then consistent attendance as defined by attending 90% or more of enrolled days must be maintained while attending their approved school that they're going to transfer to. And then how, what's included in that. So that's the front. A major change to this form is what's on the back. And I think this goes a little bit with what you were talking about. The last form didn't have these details, and I know like when the form would go to certain departments to give input on it, they would just have stickies all over it. So we took input from a lot of people on like what information is needed in the consideration. So you'll see the top part, consideration of checklist. Is this a new enrollment to the district? Does the student have an IEP? Is the student identified as a fit student, a families in transition? Because there's certain rules that go with that. A prior Spanish and Ojibwe and they can't transfer into Spanish immersion in third grade, let's say. So that's just an example. Current infinite campus chronic absenteeism rate, sorry. And so making sure that we're checking on the information, and then we want that to be a consistent piece of information, so we're citing it like specifically where you're going to get that. And then if bullying, harassment, has the principal been consulted? So we want to make sure the principal has some, take on that. And then, of course, a notes section. And then the bottom would be the approval or denial. But in the denial process, and Rosie, this goes back to like, if you're on the appeal board, like, why was this denied? Building capacity, class sizes, program, the absenteeism rate, or like, what else? What else was in consideration? And then I added this last part in here because I know lots of times the assistant superintendent will say, well, you can't go to Lester Park fifth grade because there's already 31 kids in those classrooms. But you can go to Homecroft, or you can go to Laura Mack, who has, he usually might give recommendations on, if you don't want to go to your boundary school, you might consider these other schools that have room. And so I know that sometimes he does that, so we added that in there.
Thank you. It's good to be able to compare forms. I like the bullets on the top. And again, I know this is really informational for us, but I guess I was confused on one thing. On the back, where about the denial, you use the reasons, building capacity, grade level, class size, program capacity, but then on the regulation, we took away anything that related to class size because we said that the building capacity and building populations talked about that, so,
It still says class size in there.
okay.
We took out
okay, yeah.
class space. We
Okay.
didn't know what that meant.
Okay, I see
We were
that,
like,
okay.
class space, is that like the room's too small, or?
And then yep, I see that now, okay. And then, and that makes sense to have it there, I just wanted to make sure it was consistent. And then the old form, the third paragraph of the top of the old form did talk about the transfer appeal board. So if we're going to bring that in, that should be, if we're going to bring it back, it should be back on this form as well.
Sorry. I would probably add that under the read before signing, just so they know that they have that. Which I'll just put a note in here to add that back in. Okay, yeah. And I did talk to the enrollment center. I think one thing, we always want a paper version because we want that available for families. But many times now, like paper isn't used for this type of thing. So I think they're going to want to move to a digital format for this, where it would go, the family would click a button on our website, it would go to a Google form, the parent would fill this out, and then they would get a notification that a transfer request has come in, and it would be on a spreadsheet.
But paper is still going to be an option?
Paper would be an option, always an option.
Just making sure. And we have this, sorry, we have this form as well as all of our forms available in multiple languages, correct?
I think we have to.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
So that's it in a nutshell.
So like our other forms that parents have to sign, they would do a digital signature?
If we had it in a Google form?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that we would have, yes.
okay, okay.
There's like, click here is your digital signature, and submit.
Well, thank you for, again, for all the work on this, and the committee that got together, the fact that you brought it in front of the principals group, making it more consistent with what we're practicing, especially with the enrollment center and MDE language. I just think this is a really important policy. All of our policies are important, of course, but this one and our transportation are two pretty important policies to parents and caregivers and new families coming in our district, all of those things. So I appreciate the work that's got into it. Obviously, because we haven't looked at it since 2014. Time was needed to update it as well, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then I'll make those adjustments too, so when it comes back around, we can look at the language.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. Okay, so our next policy then is policy for second reading, policy 612, development of parental involvement policies for Title I programs. Again, this is replacing 1067 parent community involvement policy. And the purpose of this policy is to encourage and facilitate involvement by parents of students participating in Title I in the educational programs and experiences of students. The policy shall provide the framework for organized, systematic, ongoing, informed, and timely parental involvement in relation to decisions about the Title I services within the school district. The involvement of parents by the school district shall be directed towards both public and private school children whose parents are school district residents or whose children attend school within the boundaries of the school district. And I went back to just our first reading on this. Really, there were no comments except at the end of D, number 8, establish a district-wide federal program advisory council to provide advice on all matters related to parental involvement in Title I programs. We recognize that they meet in the fall. And then that there is an annual, this reference E, that there's an annual meeting at each school that are our Title I schools. I think those were the only comments from the first reading. I did ask, and I guess I will still ask, if because of the changes in the Department of Education and the cutbacks in staff there, is this resource, which is referenced from January 2025, still accurate? Yeah, at the end of this policy, it has a resource, and the resource is the U.S. Department of Education Parent and Family Engagement Non-Regulatory Guidance, referenced January 2025. And my question last month, and I just will keep asking it, because of the changes and the cutbacks in the U.S. Department of Education, is this still pertinent?
I can double check on that. I actually added that like right before we brought this for the first reading, because it was recommended by MSBA for us to add that resource to this. So they just told us to add it a few months ago. So that would lead me to believe that it's still.
Yeah, I would just say that I know
But I can
for my
look into
work,
that.
I'm on
Yeah.
a lot of national websites right now, department websites, and I'm not finding things that used to be there
Yeah,
even
so
a
it's
month
good
ago,
question. So I'll look into it and see if it's still on there.
so, okay, great, thank
And
you.
as far as the school annual meetings, that's always been a part of legislative language. So since I've been in Minnesota, So that's always something that should happen.
Yeah, and I think there were questions, just, is it actually happening? So, and I participated in it this past 2 years now, because I've been serving on that, but, so I know it's happening, but I think that was a question people had. So it was more of a comment. There were no comments that were made when we had our discussion on it, so, yeah, not a question, more of a confirming it's happening comment. Did you have any other comments on this? Okay, and I said this before, but just not to confuse it with another policy that will be coming forward, Policy 909, which will be school, family, community engagement. This is specific to Title I programming. So, anything else?
The last thing is, I have to excuse myself. I'm going to the Lester Park PTA meeting, so I have to go over there by 6 o'clock. So,
Okay,
are you staying? Patty will be here.
great. Thank you. Enjoy. It's my alumni PTA. Yeah, alumni PTA.
And I did just Google that reference, and it came up, so it is still
Okay.
able to be found.
Okay, great. Just wanting to make sure we had it accurate. Yeah, thank you. Say hi to folks from, yep. Okay, so then our next section is, we already went over regulations, 542 intra-district transfers, renumbering and updating to 5040R student transfers, and then 542F request for student intra-district transfer form, again renumbering and updating to 5040F. Okay. So then, drum roll here, we are now on our 6,000 series. And so as we have been doing, we've been going through a whole series of the thousands as we've been renumbering and replacing them with our 100 series. And so we will have Patty review the 29 policies that we will consider for deletion, and she'll let us know which ones are referenced with other policies we maybe have already passed or are still going to be worked on by a committee. So thank you, Patty, for all your homework to get us to the 6,000 series. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I want to start out by saying, too, that the 6,000 series I had given to Jen Larva, and she kind of led up with a committee. Since it was curriculum and instruction based, she met and discussed a lot of these policies with a curriculum instruction committee that also include directors pulled from different departments, including like the Director of Advancing Equity. And so I will state, as I'm going in through here, what were recommendations from that committee as well. So to start off with, Policy 6025, volunteers in schools. That one, we all determined we need to do more research on to see if maybe it's covered somewhere else about volunteers in schools. I don't know if it's like, yeah, so we need to do more research on that one because there weren't any like Minnesota statutes attached to it. So we need to do more research. So we'll keep that one for now. So the next one, unless you have any comments about that suggestion.
See, we looked at it in 2004. No, let's do some more research. I just had noted on some things that I thought were missing on it, but we can save that from other volunteer in the school policies I'm familiar with.
Okay, great. So the next one is 6045, libraries in school. In their committee, and then I also concur with them, that we have adopted 606.5 library materials on 11/21/23, and we reviewed it again on September 16th of 2025, so this policy can be deleted because it's been replaced by a new, more updated policy. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Then the next one, 6055, elementary school day. In their committee, when they met, they said this is covered in Policy 602, which was adopted February 23rd of 2016, and it was reviewed and updated on September 16th, 2025. So the recommendation is to delete 6055.
Excuse me, could you go over when it was passed again?
It was adopted in February of 2016, and it was reviewed again on September 16th of 2025.
Okay.
Policy 602, the one that replaces this 6055.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The next one is 6060, religious education classes. MSBA did a possible cross-reference of policy 609, which we have not adopted yet, so we recommend keeping this policy until we've adopted 609.
What is 609?
I don't recall the number or the name of it right now, but I can look it up. I don't know if you can because it's an MSBA policy, so give me 1 second. Or if you go to the Google Drive and you do 609, you might be able to find it if it's shared with you. Oh, it is called Religion and Religious and Cultural Observances.
So we're going to keep it, and because we haven't adopted 609 yet. Okay.
Correct. Then the next one is 6065, Emergency Evacuation of Schools. In their committee, 806 and 807 cover this policy, so we can delete this one. 806 was adopted February of 2025, and 807 was adopted June of 20-something. I have a typo, so I don't remember if it was 24 or 25. And then this would also be included in our emergency procedure manual, evacuation of schools, so I think it's covered in a lot of areas, so we don't need this specific one. We can delete it. So 807 is the health and safety policy, and that one was adopted. Let's see here.
It was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was 25, June of 2025. I just was missing the last number on my note.
I remember silly things like that.
Then policy 6070, United States flag, that is covered in policy 531. I guess I should have typed the names on here. I didn't do that this time, whoops. It's 531. And it's the Pledge of Allegiance, so we can delete 6070. Then the next policy, 6090, staff development. MSBA has a model policy, 425, with the same name, so we will keep this policy until we're ready to adopt 425. Then 6100, high school, and if I'm going too fast, just tell me to stop. Am I going too fast? Okay. Yep, no, you,
Can you just repeat the last policy? It was 5-something. The 6090, we're
yeah,
keeping until
cross-reference is 425.
425.
And these policies are MSBA policies, so they're not on our website?
Right.
Okay. Just so you're aware. And let's see, I can get the name of that one. Oh, I don't have that one in my,
And just, because we have not adopted it yet.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't need the name of it.
okay,
Thank you.
yep. All right, so then, are we ready to go on to the next one? Okay. 6100, high school day. That one is covered in 602, and the committee recommends that we delete that one. 6105, scheduling of secondary classes, also covered in 602, and the committee recommends deleting that one. 6110, new elective courses in secondary schools.
Whoop, just a minute here.
right?
I don't have 6110. Do you have?
On our agenda, it goes from 6105 to 6115.
Yeah.
We don't
Oh.
have 6110 yet.
Okay, well, I can get that one. Let's see here. Let me, either we already deleted it or I just missed it when I was uploading. It's a lot to upload. Let's see here. Well, if you prefer me to bring that back next month, since I don't have it in there. But it's new elective courses in secondary schools. If you call up the website, you would be able to see it on our website, 6110, if you have your computer in front of you. If that's helpful, or do you want me to bring it back next month?
I would rather bring it back next month personally, but that's just me.
I'm going to recommend deleting it because we have it covered in 6042R. So, but I can bring it back next month if you prefer to.
I'm not seeing, I'm on our website, and I'm in the 60s.
Then I bet we already deleted it.
Yeah, and it's not showing up here.
Yeah, so what probably happened with that is I had made this list, and in the meantime, we had adopted that 6042R, which replaced it, but I had not updated this list with the deletion.
Perfect.
I apologize for the
Oh, no.
confusion.
We're ahead of the game, we're not gonna, that's good, but, so,
So that
move
one's
on.
a mute point.
Yeah,
Okay, so the next one is 6115. And that one,
Excuse me, we did have 61, no, we have already deleted 6105, never mind, go ahead.
okay. So the next one, 6115, recognition of religious, cultural, and ethnic customs, and that's the same one. We want to keep that one until we adopt 609. And then same with 6115R, which is the regulation. We want to keep that until we adopt 609 as well. And that was the one that I told you was, had religion in the title.
Can I ask you, do you happen to know if that's being worked on right now in any way, 609? If anyone's reviewing it at this point?
I don't know if they're reviewing it currently.
Okay, thank you.
And then 6135, teaching controversial issues. We need to do more research on that one. And same with 6135R, controversial issues, the regulation that goes with that. One thing that they're considering is maybe we end up just updating it a little bit and renumbering it. They felt in that committee that's an important policy and regulation to have, so.
Can I ask you, was there any kind of cross-reference with NSBA on this one?
No, and there weren't any statutes attached to it either. Then 6140.1, co-curricular activities participation fees. They felt that this, actually, the next four policies, but I'll go one at a time. They felt that this is a policy that we need to do more research on, and it might be more appropriate for activities directors to look at this policy instead of the instruction and curriculum department. So we'll need to reach out to them. And then with 6141, non-public school participation, whoops, yep.
So that, are you saying 6140, 6141, and 6150, and 6151 only to be reviewed by that, or just this one policy?
All four of those. They seem to fall under athletics, so we think a different committee needs to look at those, like the athletic directors.
And just because I wasn't sure if I was cut off there, so we're gonna, 614010, 6141, 6150, 6151 are all gonna be kept, and we're gonna have it reviewed by our activities directors.
Correct.
Okay.
Then policy 6155, class size and staff allocations. The committee said that this has moved to the labor management process, so they recommend that it's to be deleted.
Can you explain that a little bit more on why it's just a part of the labor management process? I mean, I know some of this is in the contract, but it seems to, it maybe should stand alone from the labor management process as well. I don't know.
I can get, yeah, I guess I wasn't part of those meetings, so I don't have all that information. But let's see what it says here. I mean, when I read it, this is one of those 1995 policies, so it's really antiquated. And it's kind of just, it's not really, it's just saying that you'd want to do the best that you can, which we do that with our ethics, code of ethics policy, because we do want to do the best we can with our class sizes and staff allocations. I don't know, it's up to you if you want to keep it and renumber it or do something different. It's just a paragraph long. I mean, I can read it if you want.
Well, I'm not sure. I just know that the explanation the committee gave, that it's a part of the labor management process. I'm kind of uncomfortable with that explanation, that when we're talking about class size and staff allocations, that, so I guess if we can do some more research on that one.
Okay.
Do you have any comments, Member Williams?
I would agree with that. I didn't realize my light was on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next policy is 6160, field trips. I do know that we have someone in the process currently working on the 610 MSBA field trip policy, and then same, they would be working on the new regulation. So we're going to keep those until 610 is ready to come forward.
And 610 is specific to field trips?
Yep, it has the same name, field
Okay,
trips.
okay.
Then 6165, homework. I wasn't finding any statute on it. The committee didn't give any recommendations. I don't know. This is also a 1995 policy. And so I do know, like when I've done my research before, when you go back to these 1995 ones, they were just very more specific, and now in 2026, they're a lot more broad. And so I don't think we necessarily need to have a policy from 1995 for homework, but obviously I'm up for your feedback.
Is homework referenced in our handbook, our student handbook, or in any other policies?
I can look at the student handbook. And there's not even a statute attached to it, so.
I see that and I understand that.
Yeah, so I'll look to see if it's addressed anywhere else.
For some reason, I want to think that there is something about homework in our student handbook. So maybe we can just double check so that.
Yeah, so I'll put keep for now, and we'll do more research on that one.
Thank you.
Then 6175, special individual services, the committee recommended, said that the physical education and health standards and the READ Act covers that policy, so they recommend that we delete it. And then the same with the regulation.
What about the references, MSA, MCAR Ed? Are those standards? Is that what that stands for, MSA? The references with
Oh, yeah.
6175?
Yeah, I missed those. I can look those up. Do you want me to keep them until I can look those up?
I just think we should do our due diligence when there are references.
Yeah, and I usually do, so I don't know how I missed
yeah.
that one.
But otherwise, your rationale of these other ones covered in standards do make sense. But I guess I think we should check that. Thank you.
Yep. All right, then 6185, Guidance and Counseling Program. MSBA said a possible cross-reference was 515, which was adopted in 225 of 25. I don't know if that one really covers it, but we adopted 539, January 23 of 2024, and I think that one covers it, because I think it talks about counseling, and let me look at the title.
Did you say policy 539, and it was January of 2024
Yes.
that we adopted it?
Yep, and it's called Counseling Regarding Pre-Career and Technical Programs, and so we're recommending to delete that one.
Is that specific to career technical programs?
It's about counseling regarding pre-career and technical programs, so it's about both. And it's a 2-page policy that we adopted in 2024. Well, we renumbered in 2024. We reviewed it.
You know, again, just to do due diligence, and because this was reviewed a few different times, and 2004 was the last one, is it possible for us to have our guidance and counseling program people look at this to see if it's,
Sure.
if it, everything that's in this policy falls under 539, and it's not just specific to career counseling? I
Yep.
guess they're the experts, so.
Yep, I will do that. Then policy 6195, summer school, has a possible cross-reference of 623, which probably has the same name. Let me just double check. Yeah, mandatory summer school instruction. So we recommend keeping that one until we've adopted 623. And then 6198, establishment of school within a school programs in Duluth public middle and high schools. The committee needs to work on that one and needs to cross-reference it and update it, so they recommend keeping that one.
And excuse me, what was the cross-reference?
There isn't one.
Oh, okay.
But they need to explore their own cross-references is what she had said from the committee, so, but there wasn't one from MSBA.
Okay, and then I apologize, when we, just a few policies back, after 6175, special individualized services, we had 6175R, student health record, and we jumped ahead on that one.
Oh, it was the same recommendation as the 6175, that it's covered in physical education and health standards in the READ Act.
Okay, and that we're going to keep because we're going to just check
gonna
what
look
those
up those
references are.
statutes,
Okay,
yep.
okay. Thank you.
Yep. So then we did summer school, we did that one. So 6200, educational television, that just appeared to be an outdated policy, so we recommend deleting it.
Is WDSE even here? No, they're here, but they're doing different things right now,
Yeah.
which I'm sad about, some of the things that they've canceled. So, but we're just, it's an outdated policy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then 6215, adult education, possible reference is 605, which might, let's see, what was 605? alternative programs. So, and we haven't adopted 605 yet, so we recommend keeping that one until we adopt 605.
Sorry. Whoever is looking over this, will our Angie Frank and our adult education director
Yeah,
be
I
able
would
to
give it
review
to
that
her,
too?
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then policies, our last one in the 6,000 series, 6230, Kid Connection programs. Well, Kid Connection doesn't exist anymore, but we do have Key Zone now. And I did look up that statute on that policy, and it actually is renumbered, and it is a community ed policy now. It's renumbered to 124D.19. And in that statute, it says that a community education department within a school may choose to have youth enrichment, things like Kid Connection and after-school care. And we do have policy 901, which is our community education policy. And in there, it says we have an advisory committee that makes, or an advisory council that kind of makes and works with the programs within community education. And in the cross-reference of that one, it does, the legal reference, it does state that 124D.19 in there. And so I think we can delete 6230 Kid Connection program because it's covered in those other areas.
And I thank you for that research on that and connecting it with that new reference. My only question, and again, this goes back to one of the trainings I had with NSBA on policies, is that sometimes we want to lift up our policies and what's unique to our district. And so I don't want a policy for a policy's sake, but the fact that we're providing some incredible after-school care for our children through our Key Zone program with the partnerships that we have, that school districts aren't doing all over the country or the state. Is there a reason why we may want to keep a policy but update it, still tie it into the reference, but, you know, bring it to what we're practicing right now, Key Zone, our partnership with the Y, and just really hold up something that we're offering to the community? Again, I don't want a policy for a policy, but I think that this is one of those that we might want to consider kind of reworking and just showing the importance to our school district of our after-school programming and our partnership with the Y to make that happen. I was just at Lester Park, 150 kids. They have a waiting list. And I know that's true with many of our programs. So what are your thoughts on that, Member Williams?
I had a similar thought. And, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I had a similar thought.
So would you like me to bring this policy to our community education director to look at updating it
Yeah, and
and renumbering it?
I think that would be good, and having him understand kind of the reason why we'd like it in policy to uplift the program, uplift the partnership that we have. And yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
thank you.
You're welcome. And then that concludes our 6,000 series to consider for deletion.
Great. Thank you. Good job. Yeah, 29. That was a lot. Thank you so much. And the ones that we will be keeping, as well as the policies for first and second reading, will be on the consent agenda at our regular meeting on the 17th? No, 24th, yeah, February 24th. Thank you so much.